Hey everybody, I am just passing through this evening. I'm not going to be able to spend much time here in the fish room at all, so we're going to do a feeding video, and I'm going to get on with feeding all the other tanks while we go ahead and enjoy a video of my gourami tank here. If you'll notice down in the bottom, that cave to the sort of center right, you will see a little bit of movement. That is my striped Raphael. So hopefully he'll work his way out of there. And off to the left of the tank, you will see a bunch of fish and a bunch of activity over there. That's where I've got the crumbled up algae wafers, and hopefully the Raphael will come out and try to get that. Another point of interest is the top left corner. You will notice that little chocolate gourami is up there. I put some Tubifex worms. I poured it into the floating water sprite there, so it sort of mingles into areas that the larger fish can't get to, and you'll see the honey gouramis up in there. You'll see the little guppy I've got in there. I've got a female guppy. You'll see her moving in and out of there. So a lot of activity going on up there, and then of course a lot of activity going on the bottom. So while you're enjoying all that, I'm going to get on with moving around the room and getting some of these other tanks fed. I'm going to have to start doing my new garden tank last, because anytime I need to shoot any video of anything else, I need to shut the lights off on that one just so what I'm videoing can be seen. Soon I want to get a feeding video of my new angelfish tank over here, the 20-gallon angelfish tank. One of the angelfish pretty much comes up out of the water when I feed the tank. I've never seen an angelfish feed so aggressively, and that's saying something, because angelfish are pretty aggressive when it comes to feeding. They're not shy about coming to get their food. And it does not take them long at all to learn what dinner is. So I'd also thought about shooting a video talking about my electrical conductivity meter, and I just don't think I'm going to have time to do that one tonight. I'm still just not sure how I want to present that video, whether I want to just sit down and do it or I want to look at the tanks while I do it. I honestly don't even feel like talking about it anymore. I did a little bit of research into it, found out that I know as much as I need to know for my purposes, and I was kind of done with it, and I feel like I've moved on, so we'll see how long it takes me to get around to doing that one. So now that I've made my rounds with the flake food, I got a couple of tanks I need to go hit with some mysis shrimp. My native tank in particular. I threw a bunch of mysis shrimp in the native tank, and as it swirls around it gets down in the bottom, and it's enough for pretty much everybody. And then of course the crayfish down on the bottom, which I seldom even see anymore. I really do need to get down to the stream and collect some more crayfish, and we will. We just get about 3 days a month that don't rain anymore. So on one of those non-rainy days, I will try to get out there if I've got time between everything else I got to do and all the work I got to get caught up on. So now I'm on to the freeze-dried river shrimp, the krill. I'm going to feed them to my Tenopoma. And I pretty much feed them to everybody in my 125. I got a lot of orange colored fish and reddish colored fish in there between the rainbows and the Congo tetras and the clown loaches. So the krill has good natural color enhancers for bringing out the red colors in fish. So now Butterbean needs to get his krill for the evening. And in addition to krill, Butterbean will usually also get at least a couple of shrimp. Oh, there's a crayfish out. I'm almost tempted to pick the camera up and see if I can get it out of its tripod mount. Let's see if we can do that without too much issue. There's a crayfish. So it must have smelled, tasted, whatever. Must be aware of the food that's in the tank. You can see it's trying to grab the food as it goes by. I'm not done feeding. I still have to go around with the algae wafers and put loads of algae wafers in all the tanks. I usually put about, I don't know, anywhere between 8 and 10 algae wafers in here, maybe 6 to 10 algae wafers in here. I think that crayfish is getting a little big for its britches, unless that was defensive, but it sure looked to me like he was trying to snag himself a great big dinner. I like how that creek chub just ignores him. That crayfish ought to be lucky the creek chub's not trying to eat the crayfish, let alone the other way around. So alright, let's see if we can see any other little crayfish going on. I'm telling you, this Chinese algae eater looked big when I had him in the tank originally, and now he's actually starting to look like one of the small fish in this tank. So I don't see any more crayfish moving around. I will show you this one since we got him out. This is one of the ones that was sold as the high fin spotted pleco. And someone pointed out that it looks like he's got a big old bite mark taken out of his dorsal fin, and he very well may, although I don't know what in here would have a mouth, you know, the diameter of that. But I got him from PetSmart as the high fin spotted pleco. That's all they listed as, so I have no idea what it really is. But even in the picture, you know, their advertising picture, you think they would find like a prime example and a primo specimen and, you know, beautifully lighted. Nope. If you look at this picture in their ad on their website, it's got a notched and torn fin. I mean, it just basically looks like this one, except it doesn't have that real noticeable sort of lyre tail filaments on the caudal fin like that. So I really like the way this one looks, but I still swear it is different than the one we've got over here in my native tank. Let's see if it's out making an appearance anywhere. They never seem to be out at the same time. I'm beginning to think maybe it is the same fish. There's that stupid algae eater. I hate that fish. Don't ever buy a Chinese algae eater, and if you're in a big chain pet store and somebody tells you get one of these for your 10-gallon tank for, you know, to keep the algae out of your 10-gallon tank, you should report them to their manager or something. That's just negligence to tell somebody to put a fish like this in a 10-gallon tank. I wouldn't even recommend, well, honestly, I wouldn't recommend putting that Chinese algae eater in any tank because they're just awful, awful fish. But size-wise, I think a 55 is probably about the smallest you could even think about with a Chinese algae eater. They get very big, and I often hear them recommended for 10-gallon tanks. So, I don't see any more crayfish. Yes, I do. Wait a minute. Can you see those claws back there? I'm pretty sure they belong to a crayfish. So, we've got at least 2 of them still in here. So, alright everybody, I'm going to get on with my feeding. We'll have one last look at that Chinese algae eater. That's right, you better run away. My blue mystery snails are enjoying each other's company there. And I will also say on a final note while I'm thinking about it, a couple final notes while we've got the camera in hand and we're standing right here. There, you can see my dead cherry barb. That's my female cherry barb. She was about 5 or 6 years old. One of my oldest fish. She goes all the way back to when I very first set up what is now my Black Ghost Knifefish tank. But when I first set it up, that was my African themed tank. And that was just one of the first fish I put in there. Not necessarily one of my first fish that I ever bought. But I did buy her probably within my first year of keeping fish seriously. and now she's in there dead. So after I'm done feeding everybody, I'm going to have to get in there and clean her out. Although I may just leave her in there and then forego feeding anything else in this tank, and we'll just let the fish that are in this tank go ahead and take care of her, and that'll be a good natural food source. And then I also want to point out this Apanagitan here. I put it in this tank as well as my 125. It's going nuts in my 125. And then of course I've got that T-bar in here that likes to do this in the bottom. So it's kind of hard to find a place to just plant it. What I'm going to have to do is find a place to plant it, and that place was right over here, wherever my finger is there. I had it right in this corner, and it's been dug up apparently, so we're going to have to get in there and slap a big old rock on either side of it and have it come up sort of like between the rocks or something. There you can see a T-bar in the back now making his way around. And then we can end up back here. We can have a look at my Royal Farluella back there. I've been making sure I throw a couple of whole algae wafers into this end of the tank, because I seldom see the this catfish move from this end of the tank. It hangs out around this piece of wood. You can see one of the algae wafers right there that everybody's working on. So that fish hangs, you know, sucker mouth style on this piece of wood frequently, and then it gets in the back of the tank and hangs on the filter intake and the heater back there, and so it just spends a lot of time in this corner of the tank. And so I always make sure I throw some algae wafers in there. See, we'll see it on the glass here. I never see it on the glass in the front or across the back or hanging on the left side of the tank. It's always down this end of the tank. Not sure why that is. Might have something to do with the woodwork, but I do have a pretty good piece of woodwork right here. Although I'll grant you, it's not a nice, you know, straight up and down, easy to attach to and easy to hang on to kind of piece of woodwork like this, you know, great big tree trunk I've got down at this end. So there you go, everybody. I'm going to call that the end of this video and get back on with finishing up feeding. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget, this one here is my Gourami tank. I just knocked over the tripod we originally started on. So thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you real soon on the next one.